Hello, my name is Leslie Stearns. I'm a lead talent development facilitator here at Workforce Solutions Rural Capital Area. And this recording is effective resumes. Resume versus CV, which is curriculum vitae, just that Latin term meaning course of life. Basically, a CV is the same as a resume, it's just a little bit longer. There's no length restrictions. And depending on if you're applying for scholarship achievements need to be listed or some type of other position, you might go with a CV. But I welcome you to this information video on how to determine how to write and customize that resume or CV that reinforces your qualifications. And also understanding what format resumes employers need to see in order to talk effectively about our skill set. Also, employers are using applicant tracking systems. So, certain formats of resumes, we need to make sure that they're uploaded and received properly. I'm going to also talk to you today about workintexas.com. It has a built in tool to help you create resumes and even cover letters. We'll also discuss how to add value to your reference list as well. So, what's the purpose of a resume? To get an interview. Your resume is your personal advertisement. It lets employers know who you are and that you're qualified for that job you want. It needs to effectively market your skills, knowledge, and your accomplishments. Resumes are a little different today. Nowadays, recruiters prefer two-page resumes, and 77% of employers say seasoned workers shouldn't use a single page. Again, it's your personal marketing tool. It needs to be tailored. That top section, that qualification section at the top, right underneath your contact information, needs to have those like words from that job posting. And it needs to have result based statements, not just a list of duties. And again, it needs to pass the applicant tracking system because your resume needs to stand out. According to an eye tracking study in 2018, it still holds true today. The average initial screening time for a candidate's resume clocks in at just 7.4 seconds, maybe even less. So it's super important to make sure your resume is in tip top shape. And first impressions do count. It's important to make your resume in a simple layout where people can read about your accomplishments and what you can offer to that employer. And by having clearly marked sections of qualifications, work experience, education, don't have crammed sentences or multiple columns. You need to make sure there's enough white space as you're writing these great sentences about your abilities. Let that sink into the reader. Put a paragraph or an indentation. Keep it short, even if you have years of experience. Rule of thumb, you're going to go back at least 10 years. And keep that resume to 2 pages. So when starting to write your resume, determine your focus. You're not going to write that resume until you know what type of job you're looking for because employers rarely have the time to determine if you're going to fit. So don't be tempted to send a general resume with a broad overview. Instead, it should be tailored specifically to that employer's needs, especially for that job. And research to find out more about the position. This will help you determine also too what appropriate resume format you want to utilize. Once you have that resume written in that Word document, you can update that resume each and every time for every new role you apply to. So researching the company, super important. This might give you some insight on a new project that the company is, learning about the culture. You can speak to that, how you have that like value system as the company itself. So go to the company website. Maybe you found the job on Work in Texas or on Indeed. Go over to their website. Look at their mission statement, their blog. Do an internet search for the company. Go to their LinkedIn, see if they have a LinkedIn page. Utilize Glassdoor for company information. Reach out to your networking resources as well. And I've been talking about resume format. Is it important? Yes, it is. The resume format you choose basically, your format involves the type of information listed on the resume and the way that it's going to be organized and presented. And so, hiring managers use this information listed to assess whether you're the right person for the job. For example, if you've got 5 years of work experience, but your resume focuses on your education, they're going to have a trouble realizing that you're perfect. So, hiring managers want to spend as little time possible reading your resume. That's why, again, it's important to choose the right format that highlights your strengths. And that recruiters really know that and like that when you talk about your strengths and how you meet the requirements for the job you're applying to. So here's some formats. Reverse chronological. This happens to be the most common and practical resume format. This where it lists your work experience and skills in reverse chronological order. So some components that you'll comprise of this reverse chronological is your contact information, your name, your phone number, your email address, maybe a LinkedIn URL as well, a website if you have one. Then you're going to have that summary or objective. Now, objective is old school, but if objective is required for the application process, you're going to write an objective statement. Summary or qualification section usually is utilized these days. You're also going to use your professional titles. Titles should mirror exactly the position you're applying for in that summary section and your work experience in reverse chronological order, about 10 years past. Talk about achievements and responsibilities that are in tune with the job, again, you're applying for. And then skills section, relevant skills, education, whether you have a BA, if the high school is your highest level of education, list it for sure. And then an optional section. Maybe this is volunteering or projects or hobbies, just something that gives a little bit of into your personality of you. Now, pros to a reverse chronological resume. HR and hiring managers, recruiters, they're used to this format. It's easy to read. Drawbacks to a reverse chronological, hard to fill in for recent graduates with no work experience. Makes career gaps obvious. Or if you're a career changer, this might not be one of the formats you want to go with. We'll talk about others. So, in a chronological resume format, this individual has their contact at the top, and then they've got that qualification section. Looks like they're applying for an office assistant position. They've listed out statements, you know, qua- uh, qualifying them with their years of experience. They've received accolades for doing that role. Then they go into their professional experience, their work experience, listing their job titles, the month and year they started, where the company was, the name of the company. And again, those wonderful statements that start out with action verbs describing what responsibilities they had. They even talked about being a staff sergeant in the U.S. Army. And then they list their education. Now, a functional resume. This is also known as a skills based resume. This highlights the skills that transfer across industries and your most relevant accomplishments. This is where you can emphasize the right qualifications for the position you want. So you'll have your contact information, a resume, a summary or qualification, your professional titles, a skills summary, and maybe even additional skills could be outlined. Work experience and education. Now, the pros to a functional format. It's good for highlighting specific skills. If you're a career switcher, this is the one I would use. It's useful if you're a recent graduate with practical skills, but not much work experience. You can talk about those additional skill sets, list the courses that you're taking or the ones you've just completed, working towards maybe a certification or graduation. Now, a drawback to a functional, the format isn't popular with most recruiters. I have to sort of beg to differ on that. I think that times are changing. Hiring managers, functional resumes. This really just makes it easy in that 7-second scan to see that you're the perfect fit. Now, applicant tracking systems, that artificial intelligence or scanning software that looks for those like words, might have a difficult reading a functional resume. So we have a functional resume. This individual is a high school senior. They're proficient in communication skills. So they've talked about their general skills, both with Adobe Photoshop. They've been a team leader. They've done public speaking. They've got great written and verbal communication skills. They talk about their education. They've they've worked on the student yearbook and some of their achievements, their GPA, as well as being member of the National Honor Society, and they list their volunteer experience. Employers take a value to volunteer experience, whether it's a paid responsibilities or a volunteer. That's important skills that you possess to carry out those roles. Then you have a combination. This is also known as a hybrid. Basically, combination of the other two formats. It focuses on skills and experiences. So, components for a combination: contact, information, skill summary, additional skills, work experience, and education. This really allows you to show off more of your experience and skills. And it's a good one for senior professionals or executives who need to talk more than just a work experience, maybe projects they've led. Drawback: the applicant tracking system, ATSs, can have a hard time reading combinations. And again, if you're a recent graduate or don't have a lot of work experience, maybe one of the other two formats is the one you should utilize. So, combination resume example: this is someone going for an executive assistant position. They have their qualifications section. Then they have a relevant skills and experience. These align directly with the job posting, those must have abilities in order to apply. Well, they're highlighting them. And this takes up more than the first page, half page of that resume. Then they go into their professional experiences. And again, where they've worked and their service to the military. And then they list their education. There's no wrong or right format of a resume. I always tell job seekers the best resume is the one you get calls off of. If you've been applying for jobs, loading up your resume, posting it on websites, and you haven't been contacted, reach out to us. Let us do a resume review. Maybe we can assist you. But when it comes to resume length, we've talked about most resumes now are 2 pages because this will allow you to have plenty of keywords for that ATS score. So don't try to squeeze it all into one page. And again, if you're applying for an academic role or preparing for federal resumes or a higher level executive type of role, it might exceed more than 2 pages. Maybe that CV will come into play. So here's some recommendations. We've been talking about that automated tracking system, that ATS. Your best bet is to highlight on a job description everything you know how to do, and then word that into the statements in your summary or skills section. So, for example, if the description states responsible for recruiting, selecting, orient, orienting, training, scheduling, and disciplining employees, you could write on your resume, oversaw the recruiting, training, and disciplining of employees. Those like words give you a high score on that ATS, and that artificial scanner will select that resume for a human to read. You also have tools to help you with keywords comparing your resume to the job requirements. If you have a Work in Texas account, it automatically takes your resumes, and you can have 5 active resumes on your profile. And every job match you receive or every job search you do on the website automatically compares your resume to the employer requirements and gives you a score. It'll also offer you keywords, giving you related occupational codes or job descriptions for those occupations. That way you can tweak your resume before you hit apply. Now, there's no cost for using Work in Texas. It's a free website. It's the one we use. You can also go to jobscan.co. Now, this is a resource online. I look for free things. And JobScan 2 allows you to paste a resume and paste a job description, no matter where it came from on their website, and it will match and give you a score, giving you suggestions in real time. Now, I'm all about free when it comes to job search. There's 5 free scans a month. So look for free resources, or better yet, again, reach out to staff. We can help compare your resume to that job. Job description versus your resume, that's the key. Again, looking at all the qualifications, job duties, and must have requirements. Also, use that same job title again. Don't forget in that qualifications section right at the top in your resume. So, here we've taken a job description and we've shown where we've placed that information in someone's resume. So, the job description, right off the bat, we've got the job title. It's at the very top under qualifications section. Requirements is to have 10 years demonstrated. Go ahead and put 10 years on your resume, 10 years product management experience. Global Services Group, I'm going to add that in there too. Cross-functional resource, bachelor's degree. Instead of showing your education at the bottom and a bachelor's degree is a requirement to apply, show that you have that. List it at the top, and then you can list it again in your education section. This just gives you a very quick visual of how important it is to capture that recruiter or person making those decisions for interviews right at that top quarter part of your resume. So we've talked about resumes, the different standard sections, your heading, your contact information, qualification summary, key skills, work experience, maybe some accolades or accomplishments in education. Heading. First impressions really do matter. Unprofessional emails is a problem for employers. Utilize or set up a email. That way, as you're job searching, you can also know which account to go to see things that you might need to take action on very quickly. It is recommended in your heading underneath your name to use your city and state. It's not necessary these days. You can just have your contact information, phone, URL, email. Make sure your information's up to date though. And make sure that your email address and voice message are set up. Go ahead and on your email, have your email signature that has your full name, first and last. In your signature, go ahead and add your email and your phone number. That way, if that document or email gets printed out, a hiring manager won't have to scramble to look for your phone number to call you for an interview. If you're going to use a LinkedIn URL, make sure it reflects the industry and your wants for the jobs you're applying to and recent work activity. Objective versus qualification summary. Well, again, what is a resume objective? That's a brief statement at the top. Talks about your main professional goals and how your abilities relate to the job you're applying to. Versus the qualification summary, short professional introduction that highlights your biggest professional achievements and your valuable skill set that the employer quickly needs to see that you've got the right skills and experience for that role. So, an objective example to secure an entry level customer representative position with a respectable media company that allows me to develop and grow within the organization. Now, here's a qualification summary example. Warehouse supervisor with management, article sorting, and customer care experience. Over 10 years of experience in managing employees and directly interacting with customers. Skilled in safety and compliance regulation as well as customer interaction. So, in a qualification summary, it's okay to put the years of experience. Now, if you don't want to age yourself, I'm a little older. I don't put that I've got 20 or 30 years of experience, even though I do, unless it says it's a requirement. You also need to put your highest degree received, including the program in school, management experience, how many people reported to you, maybe include quantifiable data of a key achievement or a major project in a past role. List your areas of expertise, special skills, training that you've amassed, maybe some summary of important daily activities that are relevant to the role, or list honors if applicable. Here's a tip. If you can, might help you to think of each summary statement as having a specific purpose. Each one should provide critical information that makes you a good fit for that job. Assign a role to each statement that prioritizes to what needs to be highlighted to the reader. So state what you can bring to the position, and that's qualification summary. Use keywords. That'll help reinforce your skills. This allows you to paste, again, that most relevant information, the top part of page 1 on your resume. So, a qualification summary example. This is for a project manager. Results driven healthcare project manager with a project management professional certification and 10 years experience managing multiple projects simultaneously in a high volume hospital. Reduced costs 32% in 6 months through a hospital wide initiative project that cut stockroom waste. Again, each statement starting out with more than likely a action verb, quantifying what you've been able to do, and showcasing your abilities and your work experience. Begin statements with action verbs, really important. Provide impactful descriptive statements, and that will help you. Be careful about using jargon or acronyms. People may not understand what the acronym is supposed to mean. List your employment history in reverse chronological order for the past 10 years. List the company name that it was known for, even when if it's closed or no longer standing, just what it was when you worked there. And put the city and state that you were based and use the month and year that you started and ended the job. Now, you can just use years that you worked there. This will help downplay any small gaps in work history. And you can include, if you need to, achievements and awards. Don't forget those keywords from the job description. Impactful statements. In today's resumes, you're going to use action verbs rather than just a list of duties. Someone wrote, duties include in house training. Well, expand on that. Maybe you could write, conducted week-long computer training sessions for all new employees. Now, that tells me that you're good at coming up with a schedule, computer training, week-long, and maybe onboarding with new employees. Lots of things said in that one statement. Someone also wrote on their resume, increase sales. Well, maybe state increase sales within the technology department by 25% between quarter two and quarter four of 2019, resulting in an increased profit margin for the company. Action verbs. Maybe if you managed a team, instead of just saying I led a team or managed employees, show what an inspirational leader you were. Maybe use terms such as aligned, cultivated, enabled, facilitated, or even directed. If you supported customers, because even manning the phones or answering questions, you're advising customers because you want to meet their needs. So maybe use the word advised, advocated, arbitrated, coached, or consultant. Another example, if you led a project, a narrative from start to finish, Try chaired, controlled, coordinated, or executed. So here's a work history example. The individual has the title, they were a digital marketing manager, the company where they worked, the month and year they started and ended. And then they have these statements about their abilities and the role that they carried out at that employment. Created a new format for reporting and presenting the sales, customer engagement, and Google AdWords reports that shortened the meetings by 30%. Updated and monitored the bid strategy in Google AdWords campaign and increased the CTR, click through rate, by 4% within the first month. A quick tip as you're listing your work history, it's effective to add the job title first of your previous role, especially if they're like the title you're applying to. This will keep that 7 to second scan, that person reading, that's going to keep them engaged. And accomplishments and results. Maybe add a section. Ask yourself some questions. Maybe this will help you write impactful statements to enhance your resume as well. Did you advance or assume additional responsibilities? Talk about that. Did you save the company or help the company make money? Oh, you want to talk about that. That's a success. Did you increase sales? Did you develop training materials? Did you come up with more effective techniques or improve processes? Did you launch a new program or product? Talk about it on your resume, especially if you generated new businesses, got new clients, or forged affiliations with organizations. Those are your results and your accomplishments, basically, your successes. And awards and recognition. If you have a special awards or recognitions that are in tune with the job, go ahead and maybe bump that up a little higher in your resume. Don't put it underneath education. Maybe right after your qualification summary. This individual has 3 awards. They were a top salesperson honored with the Ford Triple Crown Award. They were a recipient of the PMI Fellow Award, recognizing their service to the company. They were also Employee of the Month in March and September in 2021. And your education and training. Always highlight your relevant education and training that you've amassed. Recent graduate could add a high grade point average or recent courses or extracurricular activities. Here it says to omit dates that are more than 20 years old. Well, I'm an older worker. I am proud of my BA, so I have it listed. I just don't have the year I graduated. Include high school or GED if that's your highest level of education. So here's some samples of what education or training, how it could appear on your resume. We have a Bachelor of Business Administration from St. Edward's University, Austin, Texas. Didn't show their age, didn't have to put the year. Project Management Professional Preparation courses with Rebus Business Solutions out of Houston. We have someone that's going to Concordia University in Austin. They've completed 32 credits and 16 of those credits in healthcare administration. And then we have someone who's graduated from Bastrop High School and they got their diploma. Optional information. According to a study conducted by LinkedIn, 41% of employers found volunteer work just as valuable as paid work. So consider adding separate sections, anything that enhances your resume. Include your volunteer activities. Maybe it was the Thundercloud Turkey Trot or, the American Heart Association, or maybe you uh, volunteered at the PTA, the school carnival, professional associations, other organizations that you've been membered of. But do make sure to include activities that enhance and don't detract on your resume. You also want to be careful about mentioning organizations that are politically or religiously affiliated to avoid bias on the part of the employer. Again, we're only adding if it's relevant. And workintexas.com. Workintexas.com is our website, the state's website, and we use it here at Workforce Solutions for job seekers to create their profile, post their resumes, and connect to employers. On Work in Texas, you've got some really cool tools. When you create your profile, you're able to either walk through a wizard, a resume builder that'll help you write your resume from beginning to end. It has automated text that will you can insert for specific occupations you might have held in the past. Help you wordsmith that resume. You can upload a resume, duplicate a resume in the system because you can have 5 active resumes, all looking for each or different occupations. You can also store multiple copies. And again, those occupational descriptions, and it's easy to download the resume and apply anywhere on any site, plus the ones or the jobs that are listed on Work in Texas. And your reference lists. You want to make sure that you prepare at least 3, it says here 4. Some jobs like state and federal, you need 5 references. Reach out to people that are familiar with your work and can vouch for your character. On the bottom of your resume, we're not going to put see references upon request. That's old school. So just have them handy. But when asked for your references, and usually it's after a job interview, but sometimes filling out applications on websites, I've had to enter in my references. So here's what you might need when you outreach to people. You might need of course, their first and last name, their job title, where they work, the location, maybe the phone number, and when somebody should contact them, their email address, maybe, and if you can, maybe how they knew you. Now, if you're going to list acquaintances or community members, maybe somebody who didn't work with you, list them as professional references, not friends. So here's 10 key points to remember when creating effective resumes. Focus on a specific occupation for each resume because you need to tailor that resume every time you apply. Customize it for each employer. Select a format that's easy to read. Write those clear, concise statements. Put that qualification summary. Use those keywords from that job description so you get noticed. Have your resume to 2 pages. Begin those wonderful statements about your abilities with action verbs. Add details where appropriate about your great accomplishments and list the most important information first on the resume. And always proofread your resume before you hit send or apply. I want to thank you for spending some time with me on effective resumes. If you need assistance or would like to have your resume reviewed or just want to reach out to staff about job search advice, we can be found, all of our locations, at Workforce Solutions. And that is www.workforcesolutionsrca.com. Thank you for spending time with me.